Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
This is Greg Chorvis, and once again, the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund is asking you to help the needy this holiday season. For the last 50 years, the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund has helped less fortunate families have a happier holiday. Look for our collection boxes at the local branches of the Ulster Federal Credit Union, Rondout Savings Bank, the Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union, Ulster Savings Bank, and at the Kiwanis Ice Arena in Sorges. Thank you very much, and have a happy and Merry Christmas.
Hi, this is Jared Mans from the Spring Lake Fire Department, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Okay, good morning, Mario.
Hey, good morning, Lawrence. Good morning, Kingston Community Radio Land. Mario Catalano in the studio. Hugh Reynolds, a little under the weather today, not COVID related, so we're safe.
That's
there.
Good to hear.
So he's going to call in, and we have a huge schedule and number of items that we wanted to discuss today. I mean, it's been a wild couple of weeks, and we've got a lot of business to catch up with. First thing I wanted to mention, and you mentioned it already this morning, was there's still time to contribute to the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund.
There absolutely is.
And,
yep,
we're up to about 70,000. That's going to make a lot of happy kids, a lot of happy parents.
I'm actually typing up the list.
Good.
As we speak, to get ready for the the social workers and the school nurses hand them in to my mother, and then I type them onto the computer.
Beautiful.
I'm in the process of doing that now, so we're right around 70,000, somewhere in there. Bob Circusano had just texted me last night, said that we got some more checks in.
Oh.
This guy just keeps raising money. He just does not stop.
I know. Yeah.
So
He's
him and Greg Torvis and Tony Mormo actually raised another few more $1,000. So
beautiful.
Yeah, we're well over 70
Beautiful.
or right around there. I haven't counted it all up.
So if somebody wants to send a check in, what's the address?
P.O. Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402, and just make the check payable to the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund. This year is turning out to be the best year we've ever had. Last year was our best year, around 65,000, somewhere in there. This year we're going to be well over 70. So. And
folks, that money goes to needy children.
It does. And then whatever, we only get a list of so many names, probably around 450, 500 families, which turns out to be around 1,100 kids. Once all the kids get taken care of, then it turns into for seniors. Then we give money to like People's Place or Office of the Aging.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that actually Office of the Aging would get the money first because seniors are actually on our bylaws for what they would be second in line to get it.
Wow.
So last year, since we had so much money, we gave some money to Sue, and that money went to help with the Meals on Wheels program.
Oh, that's terrific.
Yeah,
that's
we
really
can do to help.
That's really terrific. So if anybody can spare a few extra bucks, send it to the WGHQ Happy Christmas Fund, and we just love to have it. And we share that with the community. As you heard from Lawrence Maxwell, they anticipate at least 1,100 kids this year in the Ulster County area. will be recipients of some sort of gift or financial assistance from the GHQ Happy Christmas Fund. So thanks so much for that, Lawrence. The other thing I wanted to do is because yesterday was Veterans Day, and both you, Reynolds, and I are Navy veterans.
That's right. I forgot about that.
We celebrated, and I wanted to give a shout out to Frank Guido and his Little Italy. They served lunch hundreds of veterans, and also to Simona's. I don't know if they've done this before, but I know this year they treated either to lunch or dinner. You had to call, make a reservation in any of their restaurants.
Wow.
So that,
I like Little Italy too. They're both really good restaurants.
Oh my God.
I love Simona's though.
And both of them.
We go there for our Kingston Lions Club lunch on the first Tuesday of the month. And I'm telling you, it is awesome. And Manny Savona is a member of Kingston Lions.
Yeah, and and it's interesting because both family owned. They're not one of these
yeah.
chain restaurants. Where you go in and they measure out how many ounces of this and how many drops of salt.
Yeah, you get a big portion of food there. That's for sure.
We take out. Because of COVID, we haven't gone out a lot. We take out from these places, and I'll tell you. I'm Italian, but these people can cook.
Yeah, well, yes, they can.
they can cook. I'm pretty good at it, but I'm a virtual amateur compared to what these folks at. So anyway, if you happen to swing by and have dinner at either one of the either the Frank's chain of restaurants or Savona's, thank them for their generosity to the veterans in this community. Okay, so let's see. We're gonna start our agenda. We're expecting you to call in at some point in time. So let's get going with a couple of things that occurred locally, and one of them, I think that has been on everybody's mind, and it's getting an awful lot of attention, was the District 6 legislative race. Now, we like to talk politics here, and because Hugh's not in the studio this morning, I'm going to need some help. So if anybody wants to call in, 331-9255, I could use some assistance, and I'd love to hear what you have to say. I'm expecting him to call in momentarily, so you'll have both of us, one on the line, one here. But what we were talking about in our most recent conversation was the effect and the potential effect of the fact that the Democratic Socialist candidate won in District 6, defeating the longtime incumbent Dave Donaldson. And one of the is
all right, I got Hugh on the line.
Okay, Hugh. Good morning.
Hey, Kat. How you doing?
Good. I was the first agenda item. We went through a few things and the little Veterans Day salute and those kinds of things. But first thing I had on the agenda this morning was the potential fallout from the earner victory in the city of Kingston. So I noticed that you did a little bit about it in your blog, and then there was a letter from one of the socialists who was recommending, call Phil, talk to Phil. Phil's, not the evil person that, he's not the radical or whatever. I don't remember exactly what she wrote in on your blog. I've got it with me. I can probably look it up. But if I remember correctly, we invited Phil to attend a debate. Phil wasn't interested in discussing any of his issues. at least not with the with our listening public.
Well, Mario, I think I think Phil, it was something different that Phil wasn't interested. I think Phil was probably interested. He didn't want to face Dave Donaldson. That was his problem, and you and I had lengthy discussions about that. Back in the day, people like Maurice Hinchey, when he was in office, he would encourage his opponents to debate him, and most of them found out that was not a pleasant experience. This is the modern politics that we're going to be living with for a while. It's kind of off the radar. These candidates pop up, they announce, and then they do what the politicians called a ground game. And you and I have talked about how this ground game operates. It's kind of a stealth operation, really. Maybe you would like to share with the audience about your experience with talking to some of the socialists, democratic socialists of America, people going door to door. That you engage in conversation. Was it Colorado campaign?
I was approached during the Delgado Faso campaign. 3 young ladies showed up on my door on a Sunday afternoon and rang the doorbell and wanted to speak to me about supporting candidate Delgado. And, a couple of youngsters, one maybe in her 30s, the others 2 looked like they were maybe in their low 20s or whatever. And they didn't know me. It was very obvious they didn't know me. And so at that point, I'm thinking, who are these folks? So I started, the conversation. They were just could not say enough great things about what Antonio Delgado was going to do for me. And so finally, I asked one of them, I said, geez, I've lived here for 50 years. You don't look familiar to me. None of you look familiar to me. Are you from this area? Where are you from? Whereabouts? Whereabouts in? Oh, no. We came up by bus from New York City.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? You came up by bus? I said, have you ever met Antonio Delgado? Oh, no. And I'm thinking, wait a second. You're over here extolling his virtues. You don't even know the guy. And you're here to convince me to vote for somebody that you don't even know. I'm like, I just shook my head. I finally, after about 15 or 20 minutes of just politely listening, and I said to them, I said, geez, I said, I'm the former Republican chairman here. You're in, I think you probably picked the wrong house. They didn't even have walking lists. They didn't know anybody's name. They had no clue. They were brought up by bus in the morning, and they were dropped off in different neighborhoods to walk. They were picked up, brought to lunch, brought back to another neighborhood, and all of this was laid out probably by some group in Washington, who's doing this long distance and getting paid. And a lot of these folks, I didn't realize this, a lot of these folks were getting paid. That's where some of the expense in these campaigns comes. At the time, I think they were paying about $15 an hour for people to go door to door. And I had 3 of them.
I was going to ask you, you follow this stuff a little closer than I do, Mario. Campaign spending statements. Who's paying for this stuff?
Well, Delgado spent about $5 million in the first campaign. So, he easily could afford, to put
campus, as they call it.
100 people at $15 a head per hour. He easily could afford $1,500 an hour. At the end of the day, he had a bill for $10,000. I mean, that was chump change compared to the $5 million that he was spending. And if they did that, it was $20,000 a weekend, and they did it for 4 weekends. It wasn't even $100,000 of the $5 million. So yeah, they were doing it, and I believe in and I'm not positive, but I think the Republicans also were paying some walkers.
Walkers.
Yeah, the difference was probably in the Delgado case an enthusiasm gap between him and Faso and me. It was also the anti-Trump that second that midterm election deal, and I think you're going to see that next year as well. I think next year, especially if things keep going the way they're going. I don't know if you saw this poll, but they did.
It's pretty grim. Yeah,
they did a poll
in the 30s. The president's in the mid 30s now, isn't he?
Yep, 34%, I think, 34, 35. But the better one was they did a Harris poll, and she came out with a stunning 28% approval rating.
Oh my God!
It was the lowest approval rating ever for a vice president. And remember, we had some real doozies. Remember Spiro Agnew and a couple of those bad boys. and she couldn't climb up above Spiro. So
well, she's pretty much disappeared from public view in the last 2 or 3 months.
You know what,
Huey? She stands behind Biden at so-called press conferences.
Yeah,
and says their word. That's part of it. Getting back to the local angle on this, though, I think there is a this movement of this DSA. Generally, a movement doesn't progress, if not elect candidates, unless there is a response out there. And I think the DSA may have touched a chord of people who feel that they haven't been represented by establishment politics. That's not to say that we agree with all of their positions, but they've gotten a reaction, and they elected this guy. They seem to have a game plan that works. They elected Delgado under far more favorable conditions, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
With Faso's thing, Trump and all that, but now they and significantly, Erner won the primary with ease, despite low voting. There wasn't that big a turnout for the general election. I think it was in the mid 30s, kind of like the president's popularity. So 65% of the people stayed home, which is not unusual unfortunately, for local elections. But nonetheless, the DSA, which was almost unheard of 3 years ago, Mario, they have a county legislator.
Yes, they do, and I'm looking forward to hearing and seeing. One of the things I did was, and I don't know if you've ever done this or anybody else has done this. I went to the DSA website.
Yeah.
It's like the Hudson Valley chapter or whatever.
Yeah.
And when you see the website, a lot of it is apple pie and motherhood.
Yeah.
They don't really enunciate issues. I started to get the Nancy Pelosi feel that, well, after you elect us, we'll tell you what we stand for.
Yeah.
That type of thing, with the legislation, pass the legislation and we'll tell you what's in it.
Yeah.
And but one of the comments on their website really caught me, and I was actually pretty stunned that this is one of their mantras. But listen to this quote. This comes right off the website. It says, "The ableist, white supremacist, patriarchal society we live in creates barriers to building a unified working class and hampers our organizing efforts." Huh?
Hampers their efforts.
Wait a second. Huey, when's the last time you were at a white supremacist meeting? I haven't seen one of those around, and in probably 150 years. But these people are preaching that here in the Hudson Valley, we live in an enabling white supremacist patriarchal society. Listen, Earth to the DSA, all right? We have a woman governor. We have a woman Senate leader. We have a woman senator. Hello, all right? At least a third of the county legislature is women. What is this patriarchal society they're talking about? Because I don't see it. I don't see it. And this, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that these people are proud of. I mean, you want to talk about folks who are essentially creating a problem that doesn't even exist. That's what I see going on here. They're essentially trying to make this into some sort of a white supremacist,
racist. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then, of course, then they've got, then they're going to respond with the appropriate. But the first thing they have to do is convince people that we live in an enabling white supremacist patriarchal society. And I mean, if you can read and write, you know that's maybe that was true 30, 40 years ago, but I'm looking around and there are just as many women involved, if not, and powerful women in high places. I don't see. I mean, honestly, Huey, I don't know what they call or how they came upon this white supremacist stuff, but
Mario, just FYI, there's 23 county legislators, and I don't believe there's an African American on that body. The Common Council has a few aldermen,
but
older persons out in the towns, out in the countryside. It's rare to see a black legislator or town council person. I mean, really rare. I can't name any, quite frankly. And there's hundreds of those offices. So there is something to say for what the landscape looks like. That doesn't mean you and I are white supremacists or our friends and neighbors.
Well,
I don't see it. 40 years ago, I thought primarily in the South. I think we made a lot of progress in the North on those issues.
Yeah, I mean, but again, Huey, it's kind of reflective of the population base. And I mean, we do have an Hispanic sheriff. we had a African American city council. We have a new one who's also African American woman, who's going to be the chief lawyer in the city of Kingston.
Yeah.
And there are Hispanic members of the Ulster County Legislature. I know there's at least one on the Republican side.
Yeah.
When I was chairman, we elected a Hispanic member. We elected a gay member. I tried to recruit black. I don't know if you remember Lenny, whatever his name was, who ran for mayor in the city of Kingston.
Oh, yeah, Lenny was a character.
Yeah, but he didn't win.
Lenny Walker.
But I served. So it there's ebb and flow here, but it's the responsibility. First of all, it's the responsibility of the parties to recruit these folks. And what's interesting is the DSA didn't recruit a minority member either. Phil Erner, as far as I understand, I can appreciate, I think, is Irish. So they're white, they're white white supremacist patriarchal society just got more unbalanced because they took down somebody, but they didn't replace him with a person of color. So I think that this is personally, again, a lot of hogwash. But one of the things that I think, Huey, is, and I'm interested in your take on this, is how does the Erner success play out in the future? So the first thing is the dust isn't even settled on,
I think it was 3 days later.
Yeah, and we now have a challenge to Assemblyman Cahill announced, and again, the issues that Sarahana is running on are issues that, in my opinion, Cahill is very strong in. So let me get this.
It's always been pretty hard to get to the left of Cahill.
Yeah, I mean, but there she's her two in her announcement. She said her main issues are going to be combating climate change and housing insecurity. Well, Cahill's, I think, the author of one of the housing bills, where the fair housing or whatever they call it. He's been front and center on that one. Okay, so let's erase that. So now what are you running on? Climate change? He's also been a huge environmentalist, and he was I don't want to quote the man, but I believe he was against fracking. And there's only so much we can do climate change wise in one state when the Chinese are belching out carbon dioxide like it's water over there
in Pennsylvania, Mario. The horror of it.
Yeah. So the point that I'm trying to make here is her issue. They're picking on the wrong dude. You know what I'm saying? I can understand.
Well, Mario, just regressing for a moment, Dave Donaldson wasn't exactly a right-wing supremacist. They picked up that dude, they nailed him. And I think every Democrat is going to be looking over his or her shoulder in almost any election. Cahill is as strong an incumbent as I've seen in a long time. And and you had a few on your side, Bonasek and Larkin and those guys. You couldn't touch those guys.
Yep.
And the good news for your Republicans is they're not after you. They're after Democrats.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They're and she says she'll support publicly funded health care for all.
That's an expensive proposition.
And not only is it expensive, but how about if I don't want publicly funded health care?
Hey, to give you an example, Mario, Pat Ryan and the county legislature, let's give them credit for a change for advancing mental health issues in our county, which my kind about 5 years ago started to take away, and now you have to go to Poughkeepsie in a crisis situation. He's using a big chunk of that federal stimulus money, $17 million, just to address one public health issue.
Yep.
So you can imagine if you're going to write a blank check, or at least for everybody to get public, everybody, it's a nice thing.
Well, what they want, Huey.
Right? I think we're the richest country in the world, and we have people without any kind of health coverage. Yeah, that's important, but nobody ever talks about the price tag of. I don't think they even know what the price. I don't think they even care what the price tag is.
What they want here is a one-payer healthcare system.
Yeah, that's been around.
Okay, so who's opposed to a one-payer healthcare system? Yeah. Well, first of all, unions are, because let's take as an example the Kingston Teachers Union. Do they want to go to some sort of government-funded health plan when they've got probably the best health care system in the country?
Everybody in the government. Very good health care.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And these folks, they think there's a problem with first of all, they say they're pro-union, but they also have a problem with unions negotiating really good health care benefits for their for their members, and not sharing that with the entire community, because in their mind, everybody should have publicly funded, and the only way to do that, because the cost is so prohibitive, is to take everyone's private health insurance and take that money and contribute it towards a public health system. And by the way, there isn't a public health system in the world that stood up during COVID. As a matter of fact, what they won't tell you, and I'll give you a prime example, in Europe, Italy has a one-payer system. They have universal health care. When COVID hit, they had to ration the hospital beds, because what happens is when you go to these one-payer systems, and it happens everywhere, you always wind up with a shortage of doctors, nurses, hospitals. You wind up with shortages because the free enterprise system is not at play. And so the government decides how many hospital beds they're going to pay for, how many doctors they're going to pay for, how many nurses they're going to pay for. And in Italy, if you were over the age of 62, you were not treated for COVID.
Wow, so you died.
That's it. You were told to stay home. And if you made it, you made it. If you didn't, sorry, but we don't have enough hospital beds. And they had a cutoff. They had an age cutoff, okay? They have age cutoffs for all kinds of treatment. If you get cancer over a certain age, well, you've lived a good life, and we're not going to treat you. So this is what these DSA people want. Of course, they couch it. They don't tell you the details, but that's what I found with the Sarah Hanna. She talks about publicly funded health care for all. She doesn't say a publicly funded health care option. She wants it for all, because the only way they can the only way they can pay for this is to take somebody else's health insurance that's superior, so they can supposedly level the playing field, and then make it lousy for everybody.
Wow.
Now,
Didn't realize they do that.
Another one of her campaign promises is to ban all new fossil fuel power plants.
Yeah, well, that's been going on for a while.
That's been going on for a while, but, where are we going to get out? Where are we supposed to get our energy? Right now, I understand the danger of fossil fuels. So let's move to cleaner, like natural gas, which is a cleaner form. I can understand having a broad spectrum policy, but just, we don't care what you're doing, no fossil fuel. And by the way, we also don't want you to run a transmission cable through Ulster County that is moving clean energy from Canada. Hydroelectric.
Hydropower.
The cleanest in the world, but we don't want that either. So all right. And then, of course, then she wants statewide good cause eviction laws, and she wants to prevent landlords from imposing steep rent increases or being able to evict tenants without cause. So that's already in progress, as far as I understand. Even I think Cahill was involved with something of that nature. Oh, and then her last one was she wants publicly controlled utilities. Again, clueless.
Well, there is public oversight, such as it is with the PSA.
Totally clueless. Tell me how a publicly controlled utility is advantageous. First of all, you have to buy the utility so you'd have to set up a public corporation and buy the utility. The cost would be so high that the interest payments would exceed the profit that these companies now make. So the cost would go up, not down. And then instead of having professionals run this thing, you'd have a bunch of politicians running your electric grid.
Well, listen, Dr. Catalano, I have two statements to make before departing. You seem to have a very full agenda of very interesting things, and I believe I have set the record for our program for being on the air call-in the longest. So perhaps you might want to offer the opportunity to call in to our many thousands of listeners this morning.
Well, I will as soon as Lawrence gets back on the board, okay? I'm waiting. He had to step out for a second, and as soon as he gets back, I will tell everyone to reach us at 331-9255. But
Lawrence is doing God's work out there. He's collecting money for the Christmas fund, which congratulations to everyone who contributed. And I would like Judge Williams to call in and tell the listening public that he matched my $50 last week.
Yeah, he sandbagged you on that. But
he did. He nailed me. I had no choice.
Let me.
wasn't enough.
Let me just finish with Sarah Hanna's final statement on this. All right, this one is the best of all. She said she's running against Cahill because he and other members of the majority failed to capitalize on veto-proof majorities in both houses to push a bold progressive agenda. Okay? So check this out. This is how out of touch these folks are. If you have a majority in both houses, the only time you have to have a veto override is if the governor disagrees with your agenda. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure exactly what bold progressive initiatives she's talking about because, again, see, they're very non-specific. I
would disagree with that, Mario. I think you've articulated many of those, at least in concept, those initiatives. And I would add that the last 2 years have been chaotic for everybody, including those veto-proof majorities. You had a governor focused for over a year on the COVID, as he should have, and that's controversial. And then you had a governor leaving office under a scandal, and a new governor coming in. So she might say that the Albany government was bordering on dysfunctional for the last 2 years.
Yeah, but it was dysfunctional not because they didn't seize on the moment and push through a bold agenda. They were tackling one of the biggest and probably worst pandemics of all time. I mean, this was everything broke down, and you can't blame them for failing to capitalize on. First of all, they've only had this veto-proof thing for 2 years, and during that period of time, it's been COVID, and more COVID.
Yeah.
Come on, give us a break here, lady. But anyway, I'm looking forward to some spirited debate if the DSA will allow her to debate Cahill. Maybe she won't like something.
She should call in and debate you.
Hey, anytime. Sarah Hanna, 331-9255. We would love to hear what you have to say, and maybe you could be a little more specific about especially the veto-proof. Why when we have a Democratic governor, Democratic Senate, and Democratic Assembly, that we need to have a veto-proof majority to do anything? I mean, I'm not exactly sure what the veto-proof has to do with it, other than it sounds good, and it's a war chant of some sort. But the rest of it, as far as I'm concerned, is horse feathers.
All right, horse feathers, hogwash. Good talking to you this morning. See you soon. Bye.
Hey, Huge. Did you leave me?
Good.
Hello?
Did we lose him?
I don't know what happened. I think he's still there. 331-9255, folks. We're taking calls. You have you Reynolds on the phone. You've got Mario Catalano in the studio. So, anyway, Huey?
No, we lost him.
Okay, we lost him. Okay, so he's gone. I also
He'll call back.
Yeah, I know. We have so another item on my agenda was the naming of a new corporation council. The city of Kingston has a new corporation council. Her name is Barbara Graves Polar, we should welcome her. I'm not sure if she lives in the community or not. The announcement was just a little short on details, but I checked out as much as I could her resume. She seems eminently qualified, so this is a shout out and a welcome to the new City of Kingston Corporation Council, Barbara Graves Polar. My only comment was I'm not sure how the search was done. I think it was. I'm not sure if there was a group that did it. It was. I don't believe the mayor disclosed the vetting process. It doesn't appear that, and I'm not sure if any local candidates. I mean, we have hundreds of lawyers in the city of Kingston. I'm just very surprised that we couldn't find someone locally to take this position. In the past, I believe, as far back as I can remember, our corporation councils were always lawyers practicing in the city. But in any event, maybe the mayor decided to expand and go out of the area. I'm not exactly sure why. The corporation council essentially deals with city issues, and I would have thought that one of the main qualifications would have been a knowledge of local law, local zoning laws, and things of that nature, which essentially, and of course the local laws in the city of Kingston. So I hope that Corporation Council, the new one, Barbara Polar, is going to move to the city. She seems like a very adept lawyer. She's an adjunct professor at New York Law, and she seems like she's well qualified. Again, my only issue would be is if I was a practicing attorney in the city of Kingston, I would have at least liked a shot at somebody locally getting the job. So, is Reynolds back on the phone yet?
No, he's not.
Okay, so
I hope everything's okay.
Yeah, I know. I heard his wife in the background, so I don't know what was going on, but I'll check in with him on the break. Anyway, so let's move on. And now that I don't have you, Reynolds, I'm hoping that I can instigate a couple of calls here so that I'm not talking to myself all morning. But so one of the things, another of the things that I wanted to discuss today was the how the past election nationwide is going to affect the direction that the country goes in. As most of you listening know, there was a major upset in Virginia when a guy by the name of Youngkin, a Republican, won the state by about 2 percentage points. He flipped the Biden victory a year ago. Biden won Virginia by 10 points. This guy won by 2, so he flipped it 12 points in 1 year. So New Jersey, which Biden won in a landslide, the mayor, the governor there, was supposedly ahead by 10 to 15 points and won by a point and a half. The most remarkable race in New Jersey was the Democrat who was the Senate Speaker, or the Senate leader, lost to a gentleman who describes himself as a truck driver in a major upset. The incumbent senator spent $1.1 million on his race, and the truck driver spent $5,000. So if you do the math, he was outspent 200 to 1.
Crazy.
And he beat the Democrat. The Republican truck driver beat the Democrat, and absolutely phenomenal. When you see these kinds of issues. Okay. Anyway, we have a caller. Thank you for calling and keeping me company this morning. Do you have an issue do you want to discuss, a statement you want to make, a question? What do you got?
Good morning. Well, I was just, it's interesting you were talking about free health care that the socialist candidate wants to implement. Article in the Times-Union today, the hospitals in the Capital District area have filed 4,880 claims against patients who haven't paid their doctor bills. And what I didn't realize was over $400 million has been paid to these hospitals from a fund called the Community, let's see, where is it here? It's a state fund, Indigent Care Pool. Are you aware of that?
Well, I wasn't aware of the specifics of it. I was under the impression that if you had a balance with the hospital and you couldn't pay it, that they had funding mechanisms, but I wasn't sure, but $400 million, that's not bad.
$442 million, and that's only for the hospitals up in Albany and Schenectady and like that.
Oh, wow.
That doesn't include what's down here, Kingston or Benedictine or whatever the name of it is today.
Right.
It's kind of funny how we're funding Albany or Westchester Medical Center with all state money, so they take the mental health issue out of Kingston, and then we have to come up with more money to replace the mental health issue. So it's kind of like double jeopardy or something. I don't know what else to call it. What a racket. Plus you spend $40 million to build an emergency room at Kingston Hospital before you spend to build $80 or $90 million to build another emergency room at Benedictine Hospital. So in the end, that's $120 million you've given to this hospital while they took away services.
Yeah, see, you're making my case for me because this is what happens when you put government in charge of healthcare.
Or in charge of utilities.
and you know, and again, these folks who want to have a one-payer system, you think about this. They've spent $400 million just in Albany making up payments for people who couldn't afford care. Can you imagine if this was statewide? I mean, you know,
take New York City and then take the Buffalo area and then take Syracuse and Binghamton.
Yeah.
And I don't know, what would you call it? The Hudson Valley, Westchester, Poughkeepsie? We're talking an inordinate amount of money. We're spending an inordinate amount of money giving people tax-free to pay their rent right now. Plus, they gave $140 million to Guidepost, which is a Cuomo buddies, to administer the system. And they're out of money.
Yeah.
And they'll only pay 1 year. So if the guy went bad last March, he's only good. He's already another 6 months behind. And yet you don't want them to raise the rent, but heating bills are going to go up $46 a month for a landlord. Now, why can't he raise the rent to pay to either get heat or you don't pay the rent? I don't know.
Well, that's why, again, you know, maybe I'm too simplistic, but that's why I kind of like government to stay out of my business and let the free market take over. But you see, the Democratic Socialists, they don't believe in capitalism. They don't believe in excellence. They don't believe in rewarding hard work. They think we just need to, everybody, you know, needs to be on the same playing field. If you don't work, fine. We're going to take care of you. We're going to, and they're already doing that in Ulster County. They started this program to minimum payments. The federal government is doing it now. If you have children, and I think you get $3,600 per kid per year. And this is all a redistribution. Now, don't misunderstand, okay? Does somebody need to be worth $300 billion? No. Okay, I completely understand that, you know, things have escalated in terms of the very wealthy becoming extremely wealthy, and they need to address the problems that exist. If you and you know, look, I don't know if that we have the right to cap somebody's wealth, especially if they work that hard and they have succeeded and they've provided. What everybody forgets is that when somebody like Elon Musk is worth $300 billion, this guy created something that everybody wanted, which was an electric vehicle, and the automakers were, you know, dogging it and saw no urgency. And this guy's moving, and he took a lot of chances, and he should be rewarded. So you want to go to degrees of a reward, fine. You want him to pay taxes, fine. I agree. Nobody in that kind of an income bracket should be able to shelter their entire income. And so go after the problem. But the average guy working their butt off, I have, you know, children that have small businesses that work. They're on call 7 days a week. They give a lot of their life to what they're doing, to producing and employing people, etc. I don't understand why somebody would have a problem with them having private health insurance, or some of the other benefits. And the other thing, and I'm not alone in this, because there are many Democrats now who are starting to get a little concerned about the degree of spending coming out of this Congress. And I heard one of them, who was an economic advisor to Obama, saying that his problem, and I think also Manchin's got a problem with handouts. He's
well,
like,
they've pumped too much money into this economy, so
Yeah.
you have too much money chasing too few goods, and that's what's creating the inflation, along with the fact. And I would be willing to bet if the Securities and Exchange Commission investigated oil future and energy futures back last October, November, they would find that Biden and this whole crew, or the Democrats, you can pick who you want, were buying the futures knowing that we're going to shut down this pipeline January 1st. Oil crude was at its low at that point anyway, so it had no place to go on the downside. It only could go up. And if we can shut these pipelines down, like Keystone and the one now coming across, was it Lake Superior or something, we can get gasoline, which was $1.80 or something last January, up to $3.50, $4 a gallon. And crude will go from $42 to $86, which at one time I remember it being about $120, but that was back years ago.
Yep.
And how much money do these people make?
yeah, they by the way,
But we're not going to investigate them because they control the Justice Department and all the investigations. So, this woman wants one party rule. There's no other party to rule. This is almost like the Gestapo. We're in charge, and you're going to do what we tell you to do, and we're going to get the prices up and make money, while the serfs out there pay the tab.
So, so we're coming up on a break now, but thank you so much for your thoughts on this. I just want to add a little insult to injury. I went to the grocery store the other day, and I tried to buy a head of lettuce, and it was $3.99.
It's expensive, man. Gas is expensive. Everything's expensive.
I filled up, my car, and it was $85. I got 20-something gallon tank. But I mean, this is insane. I took a picture the day that Biden won the election last year, and right now, on the same gas station in Kingston, we're paying $1.30 a gallon more gas than we did last year.
And it's only going to go.
And you know what?
It's going to get worse.
And these socialists can talk about how they're taking care of the little guy. Let me tell you. Let me give you. You're not taking care of the little guy. They need to drive to work. They need to drive their kids to school. They need. When you're in a community like this, and again, I shame on Delgado because he's in lockstep with these people who have districts with public transportation. We don't have public transportation. You raise the price.
We have UCAT, but that doesn't. We do have the city bus, but that's only in the city of Kingston.
Yeah,
and the city of Kingston is only 3 or 4 miles long.
We're all on the road here. There's no public transportation.
No, you're right.
You can't jump on a train and go someplace.
No, you can't. All right. On that note, let's go to break, and then we'll come back with birthdays, Mario, and hopefully we can get Hugh back on the line.
Yeah, let's get the old coot back.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Hi, I'm Kelsey Grammer. Wounded Warrior Project supports injured veterans